Hello everyone. TES Reading Club members are back to read out Paradise Lost, Book 4. As you might know, TES Reading Club is an amazing group where you get the chance to read out original text, which we students of literature don't usually do. Or to put it in a right way, we don't get enough time to do it. But TES Reading Clubs gives you an opportunity to read and listen live on YouTube every Sunday at 2 p.m. If you wish to read along, join Test Reading Club on Telegram, or you may also leave a message and we'll be very glad to add you. So, without much ado, let's begin.
The psychological theme continues as Book 4 opens with Saturn's savage self examination. Which way I fly is hell, myself am hell, and his resolution, Evil be thou my good. This great speech functions exactly like a Shakespearean soliloquy, both advancing the story and plumbing the depths of self exploration. It's a reminder, perhaps, that Milton originally thought of making this story into a drama. However, no scenery for the stage of Milton's time could ever have depicted the landscape of paradise, the breadth of it, and all its myriad details as richly as his verse does here. The setting established, Milton brings on Adam and Eve with native honor clad in naked majesty, something else perhaps that would have been difficult to show on the stage at that period, essential as it is to the story. As Saturn watches their innocent loveliness and delight in the physical world, his self torment turns to self delusion and he advances political reasons. Public reason just compels me now to do what else, though damned I should abhor justifies. The angels, under the command of Gabriel, uneasy and watchful, discover Saturn in the form of a toad whispering in the ear of the sleeping Eve, and Saturn confronts them in a scene that both expresses his romantic defiance of their authority and reveals his psychological complexity. Abash the devil stood and shape saw and his
Saturn now, in prospect of Eden, nigh and nigh the place where he must now attempt the bold enterprise which he undertook alone against God and man, falls into many doubts with himself and many passions, fear, envy, and despair, but at length confirms himself in evil, journeys on to paradise, whose outward prospect and situation is described overleaps the bounds, sits in the shape of a cormorant on the trees of life, as highest in the garden to look about him. The garden described Saturn's first sight of Adam and Eve, his wonder at their excellent form and happy state, but with resolution to work their fall, overhears their discourse, thence gathers that the tree of knowledge was forbidden them to eat of, under penalty of death, and thereon intends to found his temptation by seducing them to transgress, then leaves them awhile to know further of their state by some other means. Meanwhile, Uriel, descending on a sunbeam, warns Gabriel, who had in charge the gate of paradise, that some evil spirit had escaped the deep and passed at noon by his sphere in the shape of a good angel down to paradise. Discovered after by his furious gestures in the mount, Gabriel promises to find him ere morning. Night coming on, Adam and Eve discourse of going to their rest, their board described, their evening worship, Gabriel drawing forth his bands of night watch to walk the round of paradise, appoints two strong angels to Adam's bower, lest the evil spirit should be there doing some harm to Adam or Eve sleeping. There they find him at the ear of Eve, tempting her in a dream, and bring him, though unwilling, to Gabriel. by whom questioned, he scornfully answers, prepares resistance, but hindered by a sign from heaven, flies out of paradise.
Oh, for that warning voice, which he who saw the apocalypse heard cry in heaven aloud. Then when the dragon, put to second rout, came furious down to be revenged on men. Woe to the inhabitants on earth, that now, while the time was our first parents had been warned the coming of their secret foe, and escaped happily to scraped his mortal snare, for now Satan, now first inflamed with rage, came down, the temporary, the accuser of mankind, to break on innocent his flight, yet not rejoicing in his speed, though bold, far off and fearless, nor with cause to boast, begins his dire attempt, which nigh the birth, now rolling, boils in his tumultuous breast, and like a devilish engine back recoils upon himself. Horror and doubt distract his troubled thoughts, and from the bottom stir the hell within him. For within him hell he brings, and round about him, nor from hell one step no more than from himself can fly by change of place. Now conscience wakes despair, that slumbered wakes the bitter memory of what he was, what is, and what must be worse. Of worse deeds, worse sufferings must ensue. Sometimes towards Eden, which now in his view lay pleasant, his grieved look he fixes sad. Sometimes towards heaven and the full blazing sun, which now sat high in his meridian tower, then must revolving thus in sighs began. O thou that with surpassing glory crowned, lookest from thy sole dominion like the God of this new world, at whose sight all the stars hide their diminished heads. To thee I call, but with no friendly voice, and add thy name, O Son, to tell thee how I hate thy beams that bring to my remembrance from what fate fell. How glorious once above thy sphere, till pride and rebellion threw me down, warring in heaven against heaven's matchless King. Ah, wherefore he deserved no such honor, whom he created what I was, in that bright eminence, and with his good upbraided none. Nor was his service hard, what could be less than to afford him praise, the easiest recompense, and pay him thanks without due, ye all his good proved ill in me, and wrought but malice, lifted up too high, I stain subjection, and though one step higher would set me highest, and in a moment quit the debt immense of endless gratitude, so burdensome, still paying, still to owe, forgetful what from him I still received, and understood not that a grateful mind by owing owes not, but still pays, at once indebted and discharged. What burden then? Oh, had his powerful destiny ordained me some inferior angel, I had stood then happy. No unbounded hope had raised ambition. Yet why not? Some other power as great might have aspired, and me, though mean, drawn to his part, but other powers as great fail not, but stand unshaken from within or from without, to all temptations armed. Hadst thou the same free will and power to stand? Thou hadst. Whom hast thou then, or what to accuse? But heaven's free love dealt equally to all. Be then his love accursed, since love or hate to me alike, it deals eternal woe.
Nigh curse be thou, since against his thy will, close freely what it now so justly rules. Me, miserable, which way shall I fly? Infinite wrath and infinite despair. Which way I fly in hell, myself and hell, and in the lowest deep, a lower deep, still threatening to devour me opens wide. to which the hell I suffer seems a heaven. Oh, then, at last, relent. Is there no place left for repentance, none for pardon left? None left but by submission, and that word disdain forbids me, and my dread of shame among the spirits beneath, whom I seduced with other promises and other vows, than to submit. Boasting I could subdue the omnipotent I me. Thy little know how dearly I abide that boast to van. Under what torments inwardly I groan, while they adore me on the throne of hell. With diadem and scepter I advance, the lower still I fall. Only supreme in misery, such joy ambition finds. But say I could repent and could obtain, by act of grace, my former state. How soon would height recall high thoughts, how soon unsay, for faint submission sore, is would recant vows made in vain, as violent and quiet. For never I can through reconcilement grow, where wounds of deadly hate have pierced so deep, which would but lead me to a worse relapse and heavier fall. So, should I purchase dear? Short intermission, bought with double smart. This knows my punisher, therefore, as far from granting he as I from begging peace. All hope excluded thus, behold, instead of us outcast, exiled. His new delight, mankind created, and for him this world. So farewell hope, and with hope farewell fear, farewell remorse. All good to me is lost. He will be thou, my good, by the at least divided empire with heaven's king I hold by thee, and more than half perhaps will reign, as man ere long, and this new world shall know. Thus while he spake, each passion dimmed his face, thrice changed with pale ire, envy, and despair, which marred his broad, borrowed visage and betrayed him counterfeit, if any eye beheld, for heavenly minds from such distempers fall, are ever clear, whereof he soon aware. Each bitter vision, smooth with outward harm, artificer of fraud, and was the first that practiced falsehood under saintly show. Deep malice to conceal, couch with revenge. Yet not enough had practiced to deceive. Uriel once warned, whose eye pursued him down the way he went, and on the Assyrian mount saw him disfigured more than could be fall. Spirit of happy sort, his gestures fierce, he marked and mad demure, then alone, as he supposed, all unobserved, unseen, saw he fares, and to the border comes of Eden, fair delicious paradise, now nearer, crowns with her enclosure green, as with a rural mound, the champion head of a steep wilderness, whose hairy sides, with thicket overgrown, grotesque and wild, access denied, and overhead upgrew, insuperable height of loftiest shade, cedar and pine and fir and branching palm, a sylvan scene, and as the ranks ascend.
Shade above shade, a woody theatre, of stateliest view, yet higher than their tops, the verdurous wall of paradise upsprung, which to our journal sire gave prospect large into his nether empire neighbouring round. and higher than that wall a circling row of goodliest trees laden with fairest fruit, blossoms, and fruits at once of golden hue, appeared with gay enamel coloured mix, on which the sun more glad impressed his beams than in fair evening cloud or humid bough, when God had showered the earth. So lovely seemed that landscape, and of pure, now purer air, makes his approach, and to the divine, to the heart inspires venereal delight and joy, able to drive all sadness or despair, now gentle gales, fanning their odoriferous wings dispense native perfumes, and whisper whence they stole those balmy spoils as went to them who sail beyond the Cape of Hope, and now are past Mozambique, off at sea north winds blow, Sabian odors from the spicy shore of Arabia the blessed, with such delay, well pleased, they slack their whole course, and many a league, cheered with grateful smell, old ocean smiles. So entertained those odorous sweets they find. Who came there been, though with them better pleased? Then Asmodeus, with a fishy fume that drove him, though enamored, from the spouse of Tobit's sons, and with a vengeance sent from Media Post to Egypt, their fast bound. Now to the ascent of that steep savage hill, Saturn has journeyed on, pensive and slow, but further way found none, so thick entwined, as one continued brake, the undergrowth of shrubs and tangling bushes had perplexed all path of men or beast that passed that way. One gate there only was, and that looked east. On the other side, which when the ark fell on saw, due entrance, he disdained, and in contempt at once light, bound high, overleaped, all bound of hill or highest wall, and sheer within, lights on his feet, as when a prowling wolf, whom hunger drives to seek new haunt for prey, watching where shepherds pen their flocks at eve, in huddled courts amid the field secure, leaps o'er the fence with ease into the fold, or as a thief bent to unhoard the cash of some rich burgher whose substantial doors, cross barred and bolted fast, fear no assault, in at the window climbs and over the tiles. So clomb this first grand thief into God's fault. So since into his new church, into his church lewd hirelings climb, thence up he flew, and on the tree of life, the middle tree, and they highest there that grew, set like a cormorant, yet not true life, thereby regained, but set devising death to them who lived, nor on the virtue thought of that life giving plant, but only used for prospect. What well used has been the pledge of immortality. So little knows any but God alone to value right, the good before him, but perverts best things, to worst abuse, or to their meanest use, beneath them him with new wonder now he views, to all delight of human sense exposed, in narrow room, nature's whole wealth, yea, more, a heaven on earth for blissful paradise. Of God the garden was, by him in the east, of Eden planted, Eden stretched her line,
From Oran eastward to the royal towers of great Seleucia, built by Grecian kings, or where the sons of Eden long before dwelt in Telesar. In this pleasant soil, his far more pleasant garden, God ordained. Out of the fertile ground he caused to grow all trees of noblest kind, for sight, smell, taste, and all amid them stood the tree of life, high eminent, blooming ambrosial fruit of vegetable gold. And next to life, our death, the tree of knowledge, grew fast by. Knowledge of good bought dear by knowing ill. Southward through Eden went a river large, nor changed his course, but through the shaggy hill, passed underneath, engulfed. For God had thrown that mountain as his garden mould high raised upon the rapid current, which through veins of porous earth, with kindly thirst updrawn, rose a fresh fountain, and with many a rill watered the garden. Thence united fell down the steep glade, and met the nether flood, which from his darksome passage now appears, and now divided into four main streams, runs diverse over many a famous realm, and conveys ground, but rather to tell how, if art could tell, round the crisp brooks and sands of gold, with mazy error ran nectar, visiting each plant, and fed which not nice art in beds and curious poured forth profuse on hill and where the morning sun first warmly smote the open field, and where the unpierced shade embrowned the noontide bowers. Thus was this place a happy rural seat of various view, groves whose rich trees wept odorous gums and balm, others whose fruit burnished with golden rind, hung amiable, Hesperian fables true, if true here only, and of delicious taste. Betwixt them lawns or level downs, and flocks grazing the tender herb, were interposed, or palmy hillock, or the flowery lap, or some irregular valley spread her store, flowers of all hue and without thorn the rose, and other side umbrageous grots and caves, of cool recess, o'er which the mantling vine lays forth her purple grape, and gently creeps, luxuriant. Meanwhile, murmuring waters fall down the slope hills, dispersed, or in a lake that to the fringed bank with myrtle crowned, her crystal mirror holds, unite their streams. The birds their choir apply, airs, burner airs, breathing the smell of field and grove, attune the trembling leaves, while universal pan knit with the graces, and the hours in dance led on the eternal spring. Not that fair field of Enna, where Proserpine, gathering flowers, herself a fairer flower, by gloomy Dis, was gathered, which cost Ceres all that pain, to seek her through the world, nor that sweet grove of Daphne by Orontes, and the inspired Castalian spring, might with this paradise of Eden strive, nor that Nicean isle, girt with the river Triton, where old Cham, whom Gentiles Ammon call, and Libyan Jove, hid Amalthea and her florid son, young Bacchus, from his stepdame Rhea's eye, nor where Abbasan kings their issue guard.
Mount Amera, though this by some supposed true paradise under the Athia plain, by Nilus head enclosed with shining rock, a whole day's journey high, but wide remote from this Assyrian garden, where the fiend saw undelighted all delight, all kind of living creatures, new to sight and strange, two of her nobler shape, erect and tall, godlike erect, with native honor clad, in naked majesty seemed lord of all, and worthy seemed, for in their looks divine, the image of their glorious Maker shone. Truth, wisdom, sanctity, severe and pure, severe, but in true filial freedom placed. Hence, true authority in man, though both not equal as their sex, not equal seemed. Down the slope for contemplation he and failure formed, for softness she and sweet attractive grace. He for God only, she for God in him. His fair large front and eye sublime declared, absolute rule and hyacinthine locks. Round formed his parted beneath his shoulders broad. She as a wheel down to the slender waist, her unadorned golden tresses hoar, dishevelled, but in wanton ringlets waved, as the vine curls her tendrils which implead subjection by required with gentle sway, and by her yielded by them by him best received, yielded his quiet submission, modest pride, and his sweet reluctant amorous delay. Nor those mysterious parts were then concealed, then was not guilty shame, dishonest shame, of nature's works, honor dishonorable, sin bred, how have ye troubled all mankind? With shows instead, mere shows of seeming pure, and banished from man's life his happiest life, simplicity and spotless innocence. So passed they naked on, nor shunned the sight of God or angel, or they thought no ill. So hand in hand they passed, the loveliest pair that ever seen in love's embraces met. Adam, the goodliest man of man, since born. His sons, the fairest of her daughters, Eve, under a tuft of shade that on a green stood whispering soft by a fresh fountain side. They set them down, and after no more toil of their sweet gardening labor than sufficed, no recommend cool sapphire and made ease more easy, wholesome thirst and appetite more grateful, took their supper fruit they fell, nectarine fruit which the compliant boughs yielded them sidelong as they sat reclined on the soft downy bank damasked with flowers. The savory pulp they chew, and in the rind, still as they trusted scoop the brimming stream, nor gentle purpose, nor endearing smiles wanted, nor youthful reliance as beseems fair couple linked in happy nuptial league alone as they about them frisking played, all beasts of the earth, scenes wild, and of all chase, in wood or wilderness, forest or den, sporting the lion rammed and his paw, dandle the kid, bears, tiger, ounced parts, gambolled before them, the unwieldy elephant, to make them must use all his might and reach his lead proboscis close the serpent sly, insinuating wove with gordian twine his bridal train and of his fatal guile gave proof unheeded others on the grass.
Scorched and filled now filled with aster passing toward for the sun was hasting now with brown carrier to the ocean aisles, and in the ascending scale of heaven, the stars that use the evening rose. When Saturn still in a case, as first he stood, scarce thus at length speech reckoned. O hail, what do we with grief become to our root bliss thus high advanced? Creatures of other more earthborn perhaps, not spirits, yet to heavenly spirits, bright, little in fear, whom may thoughts pursue with wonder and good love, so lively shines in them divine resemblance, and that formed them on their shape, hath poured, or gentle pair, ye little think how nigh change approaches, when all its delight will vanish and deliver ye to woe. More woe, the more you taste is now of joy. Happy, but for so happy, ill secure, long to continue, and this high seat your heaven, ill fenced for heaven, to keep out such a foe as now is endured, yet no purposed foe to you whom I good pity, thus forlorn, though I unpitied, leak with you I seek and mutual amity so strive, so close, that I with you must dwell, or you with me. Henceforth, my dwelling happily may not please. Like this fair paradise, your sense at such accept your Maker's work. He have it me, which I as freely give. Hell shall unfold to entertain you to her widest gates and send forth all her kings. There will be room, not like this narrow limits, to receive your numerous offspring, if no better place. Thank him who puts me loath to this revenge on you who wronged me, not for him who wronged. And should I hate your harmless innocence, melt as I do, yet public reason just honor and empire with revenge enlarged. By conquering this new world, compels me now to do what else, though damn I should abhor. So spake the fiend, and with necessity, the tyrant's plea excused his devil's deeds. Then from his lofty stand on that high tree, down he alights among the sportful herd of those four-footed kinds, himself now one, now other, as their shape served best his end. Nearer to view his prey, and aspired to mark what of their state he more might learn, by word or action mocked. About them round a lion now he stalks with fiery glare, then as a tiger who by chance hath spied him son prelude to gentle fawns at play. Straight coaches close, then rising changes up. He couch and watch as one who chooses ground. Whence rushing he might swearest cheese them both. Creeped in each paw, when Adam first of men to first of women Eve, thus moving speech. Turn him all ear to hear new utterance flow. Sole partner and sole part of all these joys, dearer this earth than all, needs must the power that made us and for us this ample world be infinitely good and of his good, as liberal and free as infinite, that raised us from the dust and placed us here. All this happiness, what his hand have nothing merited nor can perform, art whereof he hath need, he who requires from us no other service than to keep.
This one, this easy charge of all the trees in paradise that bear delicious fruit, so various, not to taste that only tree of knowledge, planted by the tree of life, so near grows death to life. Whatever death is, some dreadful thing, no doubt. For well thou knowest, God hath pronounced it death to taste that tree. The only sign of our obedience left, among so many signs of power and rule conferred upon us, and the dominion given over all other creatures that possess earth, air, and sea. Then let us not think hard one easy prohibition who enjoy free leave so large to all things else and choice unlimited of manifold delights. But let us ever praise him and extol his bounty, following our delightful task to prune these growing plants and tend these flowers, which were it toilsome, yet with thee were sweet. To whom does he reply? O thou for whom and from whom I was formed, flesh of thy flesh, and without whom am to no end my guide. And yet what thou hast said is just and right. For we to him indeed all praises owe, and daily thanks. I chiefly who enjoy so far the happier lot, enjoying thee preeminent by so much odds, while thou, like consort to thyself, canst nowhere find. That day I oft remember, when I from sleep first awaked and found myself reposed under a shade of flowers, much wondering where and what I was, whence thither brought and how. Not distance from thence a murmuring sound of waters issued from a cave and spread into liquid plain, then stood unmoved pure as expanse of heaven. I thither went with unexperienced thought and laid me down on the green bank to look into the clear, smooth lake that to me seemed another sky. As I bent down to look, just opposite, a shape within the watery gleam appeared, bending to look on me. I started back. It started back. But pleased, I soon returned. Pleased it returned as soon as with answering looks of sympathy and love. There I had fixed mine eyes till now, and pinned with vain desire. Had not a voice thus warned me, what thou seest, what there thou seest, fair creature, is thyself. With thee it came and goes, but follow me, and I will bring thee where no shadow stays. Thy coming and thy soft embraces, he whose image thou art, him thou shalt enjoy, inseparably thine. To him shalt bear multitudes like thyself, and thence be called mother of human race. What could I do but follow straight, invisibly thus led? Till I espied thee, fair indeed and tall, under a platen, yet methought less fair, less winning soft, less amiably mild, than that smooth watery image back I turned. The following cried loud, return, fair Eve, whom fliest thou? Whom thou fliest? Of him thou art, his flesh, his bone, to give thee being I lent. Out thee and solace dear. Part of my soul I seek thee, and thee claim, my other half. With that thy gentle hand seized mine, I yielded, and from that time see how beauty is excelled by manly grace.
And wisdom, which alone is truly fair. So spake our general mother, and with eyes of conjugal attraction unreproved, and meek surrender, half embracing leaned on our first father, half her swelling breast naked met his under the flowing gold of her loose tresses hid. He in delight both of her beauty and submissive charms smiled with superior love, as Jupiter on Juno smiles, when he impregnates the cloud that shed May flowers, and pressed her matron lips with kisses pure. Aside the devil turned, for envy, yet with jealous leer malign, eyes them askance, and to himself thus plained. Sigh hateful, sigh tormenting, thus these two imparadised in one another's arm. The happier Eden shall enjoy their fill of bliss on bliss, while I to hell am thrust, where neither joy nor love, but fierce desire among our other torments, not the least, still unfulfilled with pain of longings pines. Yet let me not forget what I have gained. From their own mouths all is not theirs it seems. One fatal tree there stands of knowledge cold, forbidden them to taste, for knowledge forbidden, suspicious reasonless. Why should their Lord envy them that? Can it be sin to know? Can it be death? And do they only stand by ignorance? Is that their happy state, the proof of their obedience and their faith? O fair foundation laid whereon to build their ruin! Hence I will excite their minds with more desire to know, and to reject envious commands, invented with design to keep them low whom knowledge might exalt, equal with gods, aspiring to be such. They taste and die, what likelier can ensue? But first with narrow search I must walk round this garden, and no corner leave inspired. A change A chance, but chance may lead where I may meet some wandering spirit of heaven by fountain side, or in thick shade retired from him to draw. What further would be learned? Live while ye may, yet happy pair, enjoy till I return. Short pleasures for long woes are to succeed. So saying, his proud step he scornful turned, but with sly circumspection, and began through wood, through waste, o'er hill, o'er dale his roam. Meanwhile in utmost longitude, where heaven with earth and ocean meets, the setting sun slowly descended, and with right aspect against the eastern gate of paradise levelled his eye evening rays. It was a rock of alabaster, piled up to the clouds, conspicuous far, widening with one extent accessible from earth, one entrance high, the rest was craggy cliff, that overhung still as it rose, impossible to climb. Betwixt these rocky pillars Gabriel sat, chief of the angelic guards, awaiting night about him exercise heroic games, the unarmed youth of heaven but nigh at hand, celestial armory, shield, helms, and spears hung high with diamond flaming and with gold. Thither came Uriel, gliding through the even on a sunbeam, swift as a shooting star. In autumn towards the night, when vapors fired impress the air, and shows the mariner from what point of his compass to beware impetuous winds, and thus began in haste.
Gabriel, to thee thy course by Lord hath given charge and strict watch that to this happy place no evil thing approach or enter in. This day, at height of noon, came to my sphere a spirit, jealous as he seemed, to know more of the Almighty's work, and chiefly man, God's latest image. I described his way bent all on speed, and marked his airy gait. But in the mount that lies from Eden north, where he first lighted, soon discerned his looks, alien from heaven, with passions foul obscured. Mine eye pursued him still, but under shade lost sight of him. One of the banished crew, I fear, hath ventured from the deep to raise new troubles. Him thy care must be to find, to whom the winged warrior thus returned: Uriel, no wonder if thy perfect sight, amid the sun's bright circle where thou sitst, see far and wide. In at this gate none pass, the vigilance here placed, but such as come, well known from heaven, and since meridian hour, no creature thence, if spirit of other sort, so minded, have overlapped these earthy bounds on purpose, hard thou knowest is to exclude spiritual subsistence with corporeal bar. But if within the circuit of these walks, in whatsoever shape he lurk, of whom thou tellst by morrow dawning, I shall know. So promised he, and Uriel, to his charge, returned on that bright beam, whose point now raised bore him sloped downwards to the sun now fallen. Beneath the Azores, where the bright orb, incredible how swift, hath thither rolled, Dirunial, or this less voluble earth, by shorter flight to the east, had left him there, airing with reflected purple and gold. The clouds that on his western throne attend now came still evening on and twilight grey, had in a sober livery all things glad, silence accompanied. For beast and bird, they to their grassy couch, these to their nest, were slung, all but the wakeful nightingale. She all night long her amorous descent sung. Silence was pleased, now glowed the firmament with living sapphires. Hesperius that led the starry host rode brightest till the moon, rising in clouded majesty. At length, apparent queen unveiled her peerless light, and over the dark her silver mantle threw. When Adam thus to Eve, fair consort, the hour of night, and all things now retired to rest. Mind us of like repose, since God hath set labor and rest as night and day to men successive, and the timely dew of sleep now falling with soft slumberous way incline, our eyelids free creatures all day long rove idle unemployed and less need rest. Man hath his daily work of body or mind, clears his dignity, and guards of heaven on all his ways, while other animals are active range, and of the day God takes no account. Tomorrow ere morning strikes the east. With first approach of light we must be risen, and at his labor on flowery arbors, yonder alleys green, I walk at no branches alone that mock our scant manuring and require more hands than ours to lob their wanton growth. These those blossoms also, and those drooping gums.
that lie best run unsightly and unsmooth. Ask Radiance if we mean to tread with ease. Meanwhile, as nature wills, night bids us rest. To whom thus Eve with perfect beauty adorned, my author and disposer. What though, beast, unargued, I obey. So God ordains. God is thy law, thou mine, to know no more is woman's happiest knowledge and her praise. With thee conversing, I forgot all time, all seasons, and their change. All please alike. Sweet is breath of morn, arising sweet, with charm of earliest birds. Pleasant the sun, when first on this delightful land he spreads his orient beams on herb, tree, fruit, and flower, glistering with dew. Fragrant the fertile earth after short showers, and sweet the coming on of grateful evening mild. Then silent night with his with this her solemn bird and this fair moon, and these the gems of heaven, her steady train, but neither breath of morn when she ascends with charm of earliest birds, nor rising sun on this delightful land, nor her fruit flower glistering with dew, nor fragrance after showers, nor grateful evening mild, nor silence night, with this her solemn bird, nor work by moon, or glittering starlight without thee is sweet, but wherefore all night long sign these, for whom this glorious sight, when sleep hath shut all eyes, to whom our general ancestor replied, Daughter of God and man, accomplished Eve. Those have they cursed to finish round the earth by morrow evening, and from land to land, in order, though to nations yet unborn, ministering light prepare, they set and rise, lest total darkness should by night regain her old position, and extinguish life in nature and all things, which these soft fires not only enlighten, but with kindly heat of various influence ferment with warm temper or nourish, or in part of set down their stellar virtue on all kinds that grow on earth, made hereby apter to receive perfection from the sun's more potent ray. These then thou and be unbeheld in deep of night, sign not in vain, not think, though man were none, that heaven would want spectators, God want praise, millions of spiritual creatures walk the earth unseen, both when you walk and when we sleep. All these we ceaseless praise his works beheld, both day and night. How often from the steep of echoing hill of thicket have we heard celestial voice to the midnight air, soul or responsive each to other's note, singing their great creator, oft in bands, while they keep watch, or nightly rounding work with heavenly touch of instrumental sounds. In full harmonic number join, these songs divide the night and lift our thoughts to heaven. Thus, talking hand in hand, alone they pass on to their blissful bout. It was a place chosen by the sovereign planters, when he framed all things to man's delightful use. The roof of thickest cover was in one sad, laurel and material, and what higher grew of firm and fragrant leaf on either side, acanthus and each odorous bushy shrub fenced up the verdant wall. Each beauteous flower, iris, all hues, roses and jasmine, reared high their flourished head between an odd mosaic underfoot the violet.
Crocus and hyacinth with rich inlay broidered the ground more colored than with stone of costliest emblem. Other creature here, beast, bird, insect, or worm, durst enter none. Such was their awe of man. In shadier bore, more sacred and sequestered, though but feigned. Pan or Sylvanus never slept, nor nymph nor furnace haunted, here in close recess with flowers, garlands, and sweet smelling herbs, espoused Eve, decked first her nuptial bed, and heavenly choirs the Hymenean sung. What day the genial angel to our sire brought her in naked beauty more adorned, more lovely than Pandora, whom the gods endowed with all their gifts, and oh, too, like in sad even, when to the unwiser son of Japhet, brought by Hermes, she ensnared mankind with her fair looks, to be avenged on him who had stole Jove's authentic fire. Thus, at their shady lodge arrived, both stood, both turned, and under open sky adored the God that made both sky, air, earth, and heaven, which they beheld, the moon's resplendent glow and starry pole. Thou also madest the night, maker omnipotent, and thou the day, which we in our appointed work employed have finished happy in our mutual help and mutual love. The crown of all our bliss ordained by thee, and this delicious place for us too large, where thy abundance wants partakers and uncropped falls to the ground, but thou hast promised from us to a race to fill the earth, who shall with us extol thy goodness infinite, both when we wake and when we seek, as now thy gift of sleep. This said anonymous and other rites, observing none but adoration pure, which God likes best into their inmost bower, handed they want and eased the putting off these troublesome disguises which we wear straight side by side were laid, nor turned I ween Adam for his fair spouse, nor Eve the rites mysterious of connubial love refused. Whatever hypocrites austerely talk of purity and place and innocence, defaming as impure what God declares pure and commands to some, leaves free to all. our Maker bids increase, who bids abstain, but are destroyed, foe to God and man. Hail, wedded love, mysterious law, true source of human offsprings, sole propriety, in paradise of all things common else. By thee, adulterous lust was driven from men among the bestial herds to range. By thee, founded in reason, loyal, just, and pure, relations dear, and all the charities of father, son, and brother first were known. Far be it that I should write thee sin or blame, or think thee unbefitting holiest place, perpetual fountain of domestic sweets, whose bed is undefiled and chaste pronounced, present or past, or saints and patriarchs used. Here love his golden shafts employs, here lights his constant lamp, and waves his purple wings, reigns here and revels, not in the bought smile of harlots, loveless, joyless, unendeared, casual fruition, nor in court amours, mixed dance, or wanton mask, or midnight ball, or serenade, which the starved lover sings to his proud fair, best quitted with disdain.
These lulled by nightingales embracing slept, and on their naked limbs the flowery roof showered roses which the morn repaired. Sleep on, the blessed pair, and oh, yet happiest if ye seek no happier state, and to know no more. Now had might measured with her shadowy cone halfway uphill this vast sublunar vault, and from their ivory port the cherubim, forth issuing at the accustomed hour, stood armed to their night watches in warlike parade. When Gabriel to his next in power thus spake, Uzziel, half these draw off, and coast the south, with strictest watch these other wheel the north. Our circuit meets full west. As flame they part, half wheeling to the shield, half to the spear. From these two strong and subtle spirits he called, that near him stood, and gave them thus in charge. Ithuriel and Zephon, with winged speed, search through this garden, leave unsearched no nook, but chiefly where those two fair creatures lodge, now laid perhaps asleep secure of harm. This evening, from the sun's decline arrived, who tells of some infernal spirit seen, hitherward bent, who could have thought, escaped the bars of hell, on errand bad no doubt. Such where ye find, says fast, and hither bring. So saying, on he led his radiant files, dazzling the moon, these to the bower direct, in search of whom they sought, him there they found, squat like a toad, close at the ear of Eve, essaying by his devilish art to reach the organs of her fancy, and with them forge illusions as he least, phantasms and dreams. Or if, inspiring venom, he might taint the animals' spirits that from pure blood arise, like gentle breaths from rivers pure, thence raise, at least distempered, discontented thoughts, vain hopes, vain aims, inordinate desires, blown up with high conceits, engendering pride. Him thus intent, Ithuriel with his spear, touched lightly, for no falsehood can endure, touch of celestial temper, but returns of force to its own likeness. Up he starts, discovered and surprised. As when a spark lights on a heap of nitrous powder, laid fit for the ton, some magazine to store against a rumored war, the smutty grain, with sudden blaze diffused, inflames the air. So started up in his own shape the fiend. Backstep those two fair angels half amazed, so sudden to behold the grisly king, yet thus unmoved with fear accost him soon. Which of those rebel spirits adjust to hell comest thou, escaped thy prison and transformed? Why sattest thou like an enemy in wait, here watching at the head of these that sleep? No, ye not, then said Saturn, filled with scorn. Know ye not me, ye knew me once no mate. For you, there sitting where ye durst not soar, not to know me argues yourselves unknown. The lowest of your thrones, or if ye know, why ask ye, and superfluous begin? Your message like to end as much in vain. To whom does the fawn answering scorn with scorn? Think not, revolted spirit, thy shape the same, or undiminished brightness to be known. As when thou stoodest in heaven upright and pure, that glory then, when thou no more wast good, departed from thee, and thou resemblest now thy sin and place of doom obscure and foul.
But come, for thou, be sure, shalt give account to him who sent us, whose charge is to keep this place inviolable, and these from harm. So spake the cherub, and his grave rebuke, Saviour in youthful beauty, added grace invincible. Abased the devil stood, and felt how awful goodness is, and show virtue in her shape, how lovely, show and pined his loss. But chiefly to find here observed, his luster visibly impaired, yet seemed undaunted. If I must contend, said he, best with the best, the sender nor the sent, or all at once, more glory will be won, or less be lost. Thy fear, said Zephon bold, will save us trial what the least can do, single against the wicked and thence weak. The fine replied not, overcome with race, but like a proud steed reined, went haughty on, champing his iron curb. To strive or fly he held it vain. Oh, from above had quelled his hurt, naught else dismayed. Now drew they nigh the western point, where those half-rounding guards just meet, and closing stood in a squadron joined, awaiting next command. To whom their chief Gabriel from the front thus called aloud, O friends, I hear the tread of nimble foot hasting this way, and now by glimpses discern Ithuriel and Zephon through the sad. And with them comes a third of regal poured, but faded splendor wan, who by his gate and the fire's demeanor seems the prince of hell, not likely to part hence without contest. Stand firm, for in his look defiance lures. He scarce had ended when those two approached, and the brief related whom they brought were found how busied, in what form and posture caused. To whom with the stern regard does Gabriel spake? Why hast thou, Saturn, broke the bounds prescribed to thy transgressions, and disturbed the charge of others, who approve not to transgress by thy example, but have power and right to cushion thy bold entrance on this place, employed, it seems, to violate sleep, and those whose dwelling God has planted here in bliss. To whom the Saturn with contemptuous broke Gabriel, thou hadst in heaven the esteem of wise, and such I held thee, but this question asked me puts me in doubt. Lives there who loves his pain, who would not finding way break loose from hell, through thither doomed. Thou wouldest thyself, no doubt, and boldly venture to whatever place farthest from pain, where thou mightest hope to change torment with ease. and soonest recompense stole with delight. Within this place I shout to thee no reason, who knowest only good, but evil has not tried, and wilt object his will who bounds us. Let him surer bar his iron gates, if he intends our stay in the dark durance. Thus much water was asked. The rest is true. They found me where the say, but that implies not violence or harm. Thus he in scorn, the warlike angel moved disdainfully, half smiling, thus replied, O loss of one in heaven to judge of wise, since Saturn fell, whom folly overthrew, and now returns him from his prison escaped. Gravely in doubt whether to hold them wise or not, who ask what boldness brought him hither unlicensed from his bounds in hell prescribed. So wise he judges it to fly from pain.
However, and to escape his punishment. So judge thou still presumptuous till the wrath which thou incurst by flying meet thy flight sevenfold and scourge that wisdom back to hell, which taught thee yet no better, that no pain can equal anger infinite provoke. But wherefore thou alone, wherefore with thee came not all hell broke loose, is pain to them less to be fled, or though than they less hardy to endure? Courageous chief, the first in flight from pain, hadst thou alleged to thy deserted host this cause of flight, thou surely hadst not come sole fugitive. To which the fiend thus answered frowning stern, not that I less endure or shrink from pain, insulting angel. Well, thou knowest I stood thy fiercest when in battle to thy aid the blasting volleyed thunder made all speed and seconded thy elves not dreaded spear. But still thy words at random as before argue thy inexperience what behoves from hard essays and ill successes past, a faithful leader not to hazard all through ways of danger by himself untried. Therefore, I alone first undertook to wing the desolate abyss, and spy this new created world, whereof in hell fare is not silent, here in hope to find better abode and my afflicted past to settle here on earth or in Media, though for possession put to try once more what thou and thy gay legions dare against, whose easier business were to serve their Lord high up heaven, with songs to him his throne, and practiced distances to cringe, not fight, to whom the warrior
Dana,
angel soothed
Dana,
cried,
Dana Fishy.
to say and straight and say, pretending first wise to fly pain, professing next to spy, argues no leader but a liar praised, Saturn, and couldst thou, faithful lad, O name, O sacred name of faithfulness, profaned, faithful to whom? To thy rebellious crew, army of fiends, fit body to fit head, was this your discipline and faith engaged? your military obedience, to dissolve allegiance to the acknowledged power supreme? And thou sly hypocrite, who now wouldst see patron of liberty, who more than thou once found and cringed and servilely adored heaven's awful monarch, wherefore, but in hope to dispossess him and thyself to reign? But mark what I array thee now, away, fly thither whence thou fleddest, if from this hour within these hallowed limits thou appear, but to the infernal pit I drag thee chained and seal thee so as henceforth not to scorn the facile gates of hell too slightly barred. So threatened he, so threatened he, but Saturn to no threats gave heed, but waxing more in rage replied, then when I am thy captive talks of chains, proud limitary cherub, but ere then far heavier load thyself, except to feel from my prevailing arm, though heaven's king ride on thy wings, and though with thy compeers used to the yoke drawest his triumphant wheels in progress through the road of heaven star paved. While thus he spake, the angelic squadron bright turned fiery red, sharping in mooned horns their phalanx, and began to hem him round with potted spears, as thick as when a field
Of
of
cereals ripe
erect
for harvest waving bends, her bearded grove of ears, which way the winds faced them. The careful ploughman, doubting stands, least, on the threshing floor, his hopes sheaves, proof chaff. On the other side, Satan, alarmed, collecting all his might dilated, stood, like Tenerife or Atlas unremoved. His stature raised the sky, and on his crest sat horror plumed, nor wanted in his grasp what seemed both spear and shield. Now dreadful deeds might have ensued, nor only paradise. In this commotion, but the satire cope of heaven perhaps, or all the elements at least had gone to rack, disturbed and torn with violence of this conflict, had not soon the eternal to prevent such horrid fray. Hung forth in heaven his golden scales, yet seen, bewist Astrea and the scorpion sign, wherein all things created first he weighed, the pendulous round earth with balanced air in counterpoise, now ponders all events, battles and realms, in these he put two weights, the sequel each of parting and of fight. The later quicker flew and kicked the beam, which Gabriel spying thus bespake the find. Satan, I know thy strength, and thou knowest mine. Neither our own but given. What folly then, to boast what arms can do, since thine no more than heaven permits, nor mine, though doubled up now. To trample thee as mire, for proof, look up, and read thy lot in yon celestial sign, where thou art weighed, and shown how light, how weak, if thou resist. The fiend looked up and knew his mounted scale aloft, no more, but fled murmuring, and with him fled the shades of night.
That brings us to the end of book 4. Thank you, one and all, for being with us and listening patiently to us, though we had some network issues in between. Thank you once again. See you next Sunday. Bye bye, and have a nice day.